Good evening. It's Vijay here. Today is Sunday, 1st March 2026. Welcome to Reflections on a Sunday, where we talk about macro matters. Today, I'm sure everybody is concerned because Israel and US attacked Iran yesterday. They killed the supreme leader, Mr. Khamenei. And then you see Iran has retaliated, not only attacking Israel on land, they've also attacked US warships and US bases across the Middle East. Now, Middle East was never a part of the war in the first place. Even last year, when Israel and America attacked Iran, Middle East did not join. Neither did Iran retaliate against any of the countries in the Middle East. But I'm sure you've seen shocking images of what's happening in Dubai, what's happening in Abu Dhabi, what's happening in Cyprus, and of course, what's happening in Israel and the air bases of US. So this war seems to have now increasing in its intensity on a day-to-day basis. Now, the issue is that first of all, why did US and Israel attack Iran when the peace talks were going on? So nobody knows that why they did that. But whatever it is, they've done. Now, what is Iran doing? Is it doing any different? I think it is doing something very, very different than what it has done in the past. So now it looks like as if they are fighting for some existential. It's an existential war, which means whether Iran lives or dies, something bad is going to happen. They will take down the entire Middle East with them. Now, as far as the supreme authority is concerned, they had organized a matrix where if the supreme authority is killed, then there will be four alternates. Similarly, if any of the commanders are killed, there will be four alternates. So now that the supreme authority has been killed, Mr. Khamenei, and now there are four contenders for the post of supreme authority. Similarly, the defense minister, similarly, all the important ministers who have been killed. So there is now what shall I say, a lacuna, and we don't know exactly who is going to be the supreme leader. Though some names have been thrown about, we also don't know who are going to man the important posts. So some rogue elements seem to be in operation, and these rogue elements seem to be controlling, the war. Now, this is a very dangerous situation. It is not so, not very clear as to who is in control, and anything can happen. Now, no, we'll come back to that a little later. Let's look at what happened as far as wars in the past were concerned. Some very interesting data here. Uh, for instance, take the Kargil War. If you take 25 years ago, in 1999, India and Pakistan fought the Kargil War. So it started somewhere in May of 99 and it ended in July 99 with India winning hands down. But if you look at it very strangely, the market actually went up during the war. It did not go down. There were some times when it went down here, but by and large, if you see from the start date to the end date, actually the markets went up. So if you had bought on the day when Kargil war was declared, you would have made handsome money during the war itself. So that is a very very unusual thing. Many people may not have thought about it. Then let's look at what happened during the Iraq war, which was in 2003, where Bush had gathered his coalition saying weapons of mass destruction are there, and they attacked Iraq with boots on the ground. So this war, please note, there are no boots on the ground. American and Israeli guys are not there in Iran. They are only using air power. But at that point of time, there was a grand coalition, about 60 countries, I think, and all of these guys, gave some support to the war either through intelligence or having boots on the ground or air force or even navy. So that Iraq war also immediately there was a 10% drop, and but in that happened that took place for a month. But please note that this 10% drop also happened during the time when Infosys came up with very poor results. So the bear market was actually ending at that point of time. Actually, bear market ended when the war was declared ended, where Bush went on to the in the on the anti-aircraft on the aircraft carrier and declared that now the war is over. But it did not get over. It went on and on. But I'm saying the initial part of the war was those. It was there for 20 days, 20 to 25 days, and then the market bottomed out and took off. And then we had the great bull market of 2003 to 2008. So it was about 25 days, you could say. The Kargil war was also 25 days, but the effect was seen, actually not at all seen there. Then we have the Ukraine war, for instance. Ukraine war came all of a sudden, the markets were bearish because the Indian markets had topped out in September of 2021, and the bear market had started. And February 24th of 2022, Russia, without notice, they came, like yesterday also, without notice, Israel and America have bombed Iran. So there was a 850-point gap. It was a shock for the markets, and then it tried to go up, and then finally it bottomed out about 1,000 points lower, and then that also did not take more than 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, the market started going up, but because we were in a bear market at that point of time, we again revisited these lows on the Nifty in June, whereas the Bank Nifty did not break these lows, what we saw in early March. So that was February 24th to say maybe 24th of March. So that happened in March. Now, the latest one is the Indo-Pak War, which happened last May. The market really moved in the range of 620 points, and for 2 days it was down from Friday of before the ceasefire. It was really in a bad shape, but the ceasefire happened over the weekend, and then the markets took off. So that was a very short-lived war-like situation, you can say. I wouldn't say it's a war because there was no troop movement. It was only by air. There was a fight between India and Pakistan, and that also it did not last more than a week. So there is a pattern here. If you look at it, the pattern says that the wars don't last for a long time. And then so we are now in a volatile sideways market. If you really look at what has happened, if you see from 2024 till now, the market has really not gone anywhere. If you really look at it, there are two sides. The, let's say, the blue one is the better half, and then the orange one is not so good. Now we have come into the orange quadrant. The blue quadrant is where markets moved out of the midline and been bullish. So now we have entered the orange quadrant, which is a bearish quadrant. However, the orange quadrant has been there. Markets have been there even last month, for instance. Before budget, the market in January had come down into the orange quadrant. So it is not that we are entering into some new territory. We have been in the orange quadrant in 2025, for instance, much part of 2025. So again, we are not really got into any bearish market. I would say this is a volatile sideways market. So now we have gone into that. So just if you look at the graph, you'll notice that it is not that we have collapsed. Of course, tomorrow is anybody's game, but the leading up to the war, we are still stuck in a sideways market. Now, if you go back in history, here is some data on the US markets, and they have taken data from 1926 to 2013. The market returns, average of all wars, the large cap stocks have actually gone up after the war. Small cap stocks have also gone up. Every one of them has gone up, and inflation has also gone up. That is the problem with war. You see, if the World War II, the large cap stocks actually went up 17% again because you see, when US entered the World War II, the Great Depression was ending. Actually, it ended as soon as they entered the World War II. Korean War, the market went up by 18%. Vietnam War, 6.4%. The Gulf War is 11.4%. So typically what happens, any geopolitical event, a one-day fall happens, 1 to 2% is the 1.2% is the average fall. Total drawdown is about 5%. Days to bottom is 3 weeks. This is what we have seen here also in all our situation, and days to recovery is about 47 days. So I would say that if you simply look at the averages, then March should be a bad month or March should be a sideways month. And then, April onwards, things should be get better. I also believe that if you do not have boots on the ground, that is, you don't have soldiers, US soldiers, and, Israeli soldiers in Iran, then the war, effect of the war on markets will be short lived, because that is what we have seen. If you only have a aerial battle, invariably it ends much quicker than if you have boots on the ground. Now, today, the Saudi Arabia is threatening that they will go into war with Iran. So are the other Gulf countries, because all of them have been affected because they have bombed also the civilian parts of the countries. So it is still very, very fluid. One cannot make any definitive decision. Always, you must remember, war is all the fog of war is what they call. You never know what is happening. But going by history, what can only say is that wars have not lasted. At least they have not lasted for more than 3 to 4 weeks. The effect on the market also is around that time. And in Kargil, for instance, it went up. I don't know whether it will go up because March generally is not a good month for the markets, independent of whether there's a war or not, because money is short in short supply. And the positive part is many of the stocks seem to have bottomed out, and they seem to be, making strong bottoms and going up. Now, war will also give some winners. For instance, it may be that the oil prices go up, so the oil stocks may go up, the precious metals may go up. Then you have metal stocks may go up, natural resources, other natural resources stocks like coal and power may go up. So there will be winners also. It is not that war means all will be losers. So the index may fall down, but many stocks may do their own dance. So you need to take this in perspective. I think one should be cautiously looking at it. It is not that even if we get a bottom tomorrow or next week, that it will suddenly start shooting up. We can always enter into the market. One has to be cautious. One has to look at what sectors one should invest. As I keep repeating, we are into natural resources. So to that extent, I feel, of course, we never expected a war. We expected scarcity. And based on scarcity, we have gone into natural resources. So one can look at sectors which may benefit from the war, which I just mentioned. So I am not, at this point of time, I'm not so bearish that war will destroy the economy, war will destroy, the our Indian rupee, for instance. Oil prices will go double, triple. I don't know. I don't think so. We may have a 20 to 30% rally in oil stocks because there is too much of short positions, technical short positions in oil globally. So that may be a knee-jerk reaction. I do not think we are in a situation where oil is in scarcity in that manner. Of course, it will get affected because of if they close the Hormuz Strait, which they've not done. But nevertheless, US is having oil from Venezuela. Russia has got surplus oil, so it may not go up too much, in my opinion. Though in the Ukraine war time, I think from 90 it went up to 130. So there was about a 50% jump in oil prices in that span, in 1 month span, but it never sustained 130. It came back to 100. So 90 to 130 and back to 100 was the case in Ukraine war. I am not very sure whether we'll have that kind of number also. So we need not be that scared, I feel, but still we have to be careful because we don't know where this will lead. We all assume because of optimism that things will end quickly because they've done so in the past, and we should hope that it will end because China and Russia will come into play and see that for their own interest they would like to end the war quickly. So be careful, but I don't think one should fear so much that one should sell everything tomorrow. At least I am not in that camp, and we are not having stocks which are, going to be directly affected by the war. In fact, if anything, we may be benefited, but that is not very important. For we have bought it for some other reason, as I said. So whatever you do, I hope you do it calmly and take care. Have a good night. Thank you for joining me.